Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, devotees, I was thinking of reading a short sequence of verses from Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is from the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is titled Devotional Service. And I'll begin with verse 8. And like I said, it's a sequence of verses in which Lord Krishna is describing different levels of relationship with him, like different levels of connection with him. And one interesting point is that he doesn't start at the sort of the beginning and then work up different levels going higher, but he starts at the top and then works down. If you can, do this. If you can't do it, do that. If you can't do that, do something else. If you can't do that, do another thing. Like that. So it's interesting. Yeah, so it's Bhagavad Gita chapter 12. It begins with verse 8. And there's, I think, 5 verses. So let me just read through. Well, let's start at the top. Verse 8 is really the top. Mayeva mana adatsva, mayi buddhyam niveshaya. Actually, before I begin, let me just introduce our devotees to you, because you may not know them. This here, very prominent, this is Ravindra Swarup Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Who, bravo. Who, as you heard, he's a nice singer and been playing harmonium since you were, 3 years old or something?
From 10.
10? Oh, you told me 3. Anyway, since he was small. So you can see, he basically knows what he's doing. And he's from Durban. And then this here is Anukul Krishna Prabhu. He is from Ujjain, which is not part of Durban. It's in, what is it? MP.
Madhya Pradesh.
Madhya Pradesh. Yes. So, you don't speak Gujarati, do you?
No.
Not. Anyway, but he does speak Hindi. If anyone wants to brush up on your Hindi, you can talk to him. Yeah. So they're nice devotees, and they're traveling with me. We were in India. What was it from? Anyway, for a few months, from October, middle of October. And then went different places. We were in West Bengal. Then we went to Pune. Pune, I don't know if you've been there. They have really outstanding temple there. Gee, very, very big. Then we went to Udupi. you heard of Udupi? South India, Karnataka, I think. And that's the birthplace of Madhvacharya. I don't know if you would have heard of him. He's one of the great teachers from way back. And there's famous Krishna temple there. The main temple is a temple of Lord Krishna. And anyway, then we went to Calcutta. Stayed in Calcutta a little while. And then we went to the Navadweep area, which is where Lord Chaitanya appeared in this world and had his earlier pastimes. Lord Chaitanya, the most recent incarnation of Krishna. And we went with a group of couple of hundred devotees, I think 230 or so, around that area, because there are many sacred places around there where Lord Chaitanya had his pastimes. Yes. So,
Jai Gauranga.
oh yes, look, there's Jai Gauranga Prabhu. He sort of merged into the group. And you're from here. I'm in Joburg, isn't it?
Yes, Joburg.
He's from Joburg. And he speaks excellent Afrikaans.
From George.
Oh, he's from George. Oh, really? Okay. So if you want to brush up on your Afrikaans, speak to him. But they're nice. They're all really nice devotees, young men who dedicated themselves to service to Lord Krishna. Right, okay, so let us get back to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, verse 8, first of all. Mayeva mana adatsva, mai buddhim niveshaya, nivasish yasi mayeva, ata urdvam na samshaya. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. So this is like the highest level, that one doesn't need to do any sort of sadhana. Are you familiar with this term, sadhana?
Yes.
It means like sort of practice to get into something. Yeah, so you don't need to do anything like that because you're there already, just completely absorbed in the Lord, 24/7. That's very elevated level, very, very elevated level. And I remember when I was a new devotee, I'm still a new devotee, only, 51 years. So when I was a very new devotee, 1973, I had the association of one more senior devotee, American, and I drove him from London down to the coast where he took a ferry across to France. And so he was talking to me the whole way about things to do with Krishna and Prabhupada, our spiritual master, and scripture, and just all these things nonstop. And I was a new boy. I was really a new boy, actually. And he told me, and one thing I found a little difficult, you could say, about Krishna consciousness, I really liked it. I thought Krishna consciousness is just amazing and wonderful. But one thing which was sometimes a little perplexing, was that there's a fair number. If you really get into it, there's a lot of rules and regulations. If you really get into it, there's quite a lot. And, that sort of weighed on my mind. Let's do this and not do that, and do it in this way and not in that way. And so we're talking about it, and I told him that, and he said, the thing is, in Krishna consciousness, there's actually only one rule. And I thought, that sounds good. One rule. Just always remember Krishna and never forget him. That's it. And I thought, okay, I can do that. Or I can try to do that. After a while, though, I found it was difficult to do that. You've got to do some other things, like chanting, particularly. You've got to do some other things to kind of reinforce your remembering of Krishna. But here, Lord Krishna is talking about the topmost level, really. In the purport, Prabhupada says, one who's engaged in Lord Krishna's devotional service lives in a direct relationship with the Supreme Lord. Even such great devotees, Krishna speaks to them and they converse with the Lord. That's very high level. That's very, very high level. But it happens. It happens, and they have interactions with the Lord. I actually told one little story, just a couple of days ago. Srila Prabhupada was in Los Angeles, and he was about to give a class on the Bhagavat, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the deity, Krishna, had a long wig, like down well beyond his waist, really long, like down his legs. And Srila Prabhupada noticed that and said, that wig is too long. It's not suitable for Krishna. So then he gave the class and finished after a while. And then he was getting off the seat, the Vyasa-san, and the seat is actually close to the deity there, to the altar. And as he was stepping down, there's a few steps, and he looked again at Krishna, and he said, actually, no, the wig is all right. He said, Krishna likes the wig. So somehow or other, Prabhupada was a very, very special person. And he could understand some interaction took place between him and the Lord. And so he came out understanding, actually, Krishna likes it. So the very great devotees, they have such relationships with the Lord. And we're sort of trying our best generally, but we're not on that level. And we don't want to get kind of carried away with ourselves and start thinking we are. We can speak to Krishna, it's fine. You can speak to Krishna, but whether he speaks back to you, that's another thing. That's another thing. You got to really be on a high level. So when Prabhupada in the purport, I'm not going to read the whole purport, but Prabhupada says, when the devotee, great devotee, offers Krishna food, Krishna directly accepts it and eats that food. one little story I can tell you. It's a nice little story from West Bengal. There was one great devotee in the time of Lord Chaitanya, so like 500 years ago, plus or minus. Mukunda, his name was Mukunda, and he had a son named, what was the son's name? Raghunandan, who was just a young fellow, maybe not even 10, but he was very nice, and he really appreciated. They had a temple at home, and the boy was assisting and involved. And so the father, Mukunda, decided, I will teach him how to offer food to the deity, because there's a procedure, particularly if there's an actual deity. There are different mantras and different things you're meant to do. So he explained it all to the boy, and then said, okay, I have to go out now, out of the house, some business. So you do the offering. You offer the food to the deity. And the boy, Raghunandan, he said, right, I'll do it. So then Mukunda came back after a while, and he asked his son, Raghunandan, how was it doing the offering the food? And Raghunandan said, it was very difficult. It was extremely difficult. And Mukunda said, really? What happened? Did you forget the mantras? No. Did you forget the procedure, like the sequence of? No, I got all that right. Well, what was difficult then? Getting Krishna to eat the food. It was so difficult. And Mukunda just didn't really know what to make of it. So he said, okay, anyway, can I have some prasad from the offering? And Raghunandan said, prasad? No, there's no prasad. And Mukunda said, you didn't eat it all yourself, did you? No. Krishna ate it. And so Mukunda didn't think that such a thing would be possible, so he didn't know what to make of it. So the next day, he said, look, you do the offering of the food again, and I have to go out again. But what he did, he went out the door and came around the side, sort of secretly looking in to the room there. And so in comes Raghunandan with the plate of food to be offered on the altar. So he puts it down and he bows down, and everything's going all right so far. And then he sits up again after chanting the mantras. It takes a few minutes. And he's kneeling there looking up at the deity. It's a deity of Krishna named Gopinath. And he starts talking to the deity. And Mukunda, now he's listening in, he's really trying to understand what is going on. And Raghunandan is saying to Krishna, Krishna, please eat the food. Krishna, please, will you eat the food? Krishna, will you eat the food, please? And then you know what happened? Krishna stepped off the altar and sat down and ate the food. And Mukunda, the father, is observing all this. And he understands, actually, my son, it happens from a previous lifetime. They had that mentality already when they came into this lifetime. So he understood, actually, my son, he's a great devotee, a great spiritual person, even though he's just a young boy. But then a little later on, Mukunda came back and acting like he, didn't know what was going on and life is just going on as usual. So he asked again, so how was it doing the offering? And Raghunandan said, it was hard. It was so hard. It wasn't as bad as yesterday. Wasn't as bad as yesterday, but it was very hard. And so Mukunda again, he said, well, can I have some prasad, please? Prasad? No, there's no prasad. Krishna ate everything. So then, they're living in Bengal. Then they went to visit Lord Chaitanya, who was living in Puri, if you know the geography down there, Orissa on the coast. What is it? It's the east coast. So they went down there, the two of them, and they went and met Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya looked at them and he said, of course, Mukunda, he's, between 30 and 40 or something like that. And the boys, less than 10. But Lord Chaitanya looks at them and sort of studies them. And he says, tell me, which one of you is the father and which one of you is the son? Sounds like a strange question. And Mukunda, then he thought, okay, I understand what he's getting at. And he said, actually, my lord, Raghunandan is the father and I am the son. Because a person who awakens your relationship with Krishna spiritually is your father. Yes. And Lord Chaitanya said, you're right. You're right. Yes. And it's like that actually in general. Prabhupada, when he wrote letters to his disciples, he would address them as sons and daughters. Yeah. And even sometimes, not often at all, but occasionally, there was someone who was older. Prabhupada's 70, a little over 70. Sometimes he'd get people who were even older than him, but he'd still refer to them as my son or my daughter. Yeah. Because, just interesting little side point. In India, at least according to traditional culture, a male is considered a boy and a female is considered a girl until they're 40. Did you know that? This is according to the older culture, boys and girls. When I heard, I was 21 when I moved into the temple, and Prabhupada was saying boys and girls, and I thought, I'm not a boy, I'm a man. I'm 21. Okay, anyway. So yeah, when the devotee, any sincere devotee actually offers food to the Lord accepts it. But when a very elevated devotee offers food to the Lord, normally when the food is offered, it's left. Although it's understood Krishna eats it through his eyes, but sometimes he actually eats it when it's offered by a very elevated, very special devotee. So that's what's being talked about here. Just fix your mind on me and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always. Then, next verse 9, atachitam samadatum na shaknoshi maistiram abhyasa yogena tato mam ichaptum dhananjaya. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind on me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. Mataji, there's a beautiful chair here. It has your name on it. Hare Krishna. Right, yeah, let me just read it again. If you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. Regulative principles, these are the rules I mentioned earlier. In very simple terms, maintaining a vegetarian diet, not taking intoxicants, no gambling, no illicit sex life, and regularly chanting the names of the Lord. And, a lot like that. Those are the basic regulative principles. I mean, if you can get those right, you're doing well. It's very good. So, yes, in this way, this will help you come to the point of becoming attached to the Lord. Because you know what it's like. There are many distractions. Don't mind me saying that, but one of them is Bollywood. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I know it's true. What is it? Aishwarya and Abhishek, rather than Radha and Krishna, or Sita and Ram, or Lakshmi and Narayan. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going on. These things are going on. I know it. I've seen it many times. Yes. So anyway, that's what to do. People get distracted. One devotee who I know well many years ago, he wanted to receive initiation, Diksha. So there's in Durban, there's a committee, initiation committee, and they sort of check people and see if they're up to the standard, that sort of thing. So he had a meeting with them, and they said, no, you're not up to the standard. You're into Bollywood. And the spokesperson said, you were at that show where there were some years ago, a whole lot of Bollywood artists came themselves and they put on some show. And this devotee on the committee said, yeah, you were at that Bollywood show. I know, because I saw you there. Anyway, it's not the end of the world, but gee, Bollywood. And some of those people they're quite involved with our movement, actually. Amitabh Bachchan. He lives sort of just nearby, and quite a number of them come regularly. Is Hema Malini still alive?
Yes.
She's still alive. She comes and sings every now and then. They have special evenings. Yeah. So anyway, if you're a Bollywood fan, just relax. I'm not on your case. But anyway, Hare Krishna, let's just leave it at that. So so if you can't just fix your mind on the Lord, and even if there's distracting things going on around you, but you don't get distracted. You stay fixed. That's like the perfect stage, very high stage. But if you can't do that, and it's rare. It's even more than rare. It's almost hardly ever happens that someone's so elevated. So then, like how Prabhupada taught us it was just a standard thing. Follow at least those 4 rules of being vegetarian, not smoking or drinking, etc., and so on. And chant regularly, and then gradually you'll find you become more inclined to the Lord, and you lose interest in Bollywood and just different things like that. One devotee told me a good few years ago, he and his friend they're Indian, from Durban, and he said that he and his friend, they were rarely into eating meat. In fact, they were more or less carnivorous. They didn't really eat vegetables. But then he became a devotee somehow and gave up all those things. And but then a couple of years later, he met that friend for the first time. And the friend said, "Oh, you're Hare Krishna. That means you're vegetarian." "Yes. But how did you give up meat? How did you do it? You were like a fanatic about meat. What did you do?" And the devotee, the friend, said, "Actually, no, I didn't give up meat. Meat gave up me." It means he just lost interest. He didn't have to sort of fight with it, and I must stop doing this, and I can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? Some people, they get into things like that. That he just found that he just lost interest. Because in Krishna consciousness, Krishna says in the 2nd chapter, Param Drishtva Navartate, a person develops a higher taste, higher experience of higher pleasure. So these lower pleasures, so-called, they don't have to fight with them. They just drift off and they're gone. So, this is the idea here then, that with the 2nd level, if you can't just fix your mind without deviation, then follow at least the basic rules, and in this way you lose interest in just ordinary material life and Bollywood too, etc. So now the 3rd stage, if you cannot follow the rules and regulations of bhakti yoga, then just try to work for me. Because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. The Krishna started high, he's coming down. Just work for me means you're not following necessarily any of the rules, or maybe some, and you're not. We have our chanting beads. I'm sure some of you have your chanting beads, and you chant on them every day. But the type of person Krishna's talking about here is not doing that at all. Not doing anything at all in terms of like regular practice to try and cultivate spiritual life. So what to do? Just do something for the Lord. Just do something. Whatever you can do, just do it. But as an offering to the Lord. If you can cook, cook. And if you can sing, sing. If you can make money, make some money and offer it to the Lord. And just whatever comes to you in terms of what you're good at or inclined towards, just do that. But as an offering to the Lord. And this is very common, actually. We have, particularly in Durban, where our main congregation is, there are many business people, and just working people for that matter. But, there's a lot of business people, and they regularly come forward to sponsor this, sponsor that, purchase something, or provide something for the temple. And that's what they do. And they come to the festivals. They may occasionally come on Sundays. But many of them don't. But they just come to festivals. Like Janmashtami. We're meant to be having a full Rath Yatra again. I don't know if any or many of you have been to the Chariot Festival in Durban. Meant to be happening this year. So some of them, they just come to that, and that's all. But they do something, whatever they can do. Some of them, they have businesses. One fellow, he has electronics and sound speakers and microphones and all that sort of thing. So he provides those for some of the temples. So that's the idea. That's what Krishna's talking about here. And Prabhupada says, one should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness. There are many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness, and they require help. So, this is the idea. One can help the devotees. He can, if one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or a temple for Krishna consciousness. He can help with publications. That sort of idea. So that's the third level. And now that was verse 10, now verse 11. The next level down. There's two more levels actually. Atai tad apyasaktosi kartum mad yogam ashrita sarva karma pala tyagam tatakuru yatat bhavan. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act, giving up results of your work. What this means is just try to be charitable sometimes. Just try. Not that you really have to work for the Lord and really be into it like that, but at least from time to time, don't be too attached to your money and your whatever else you've got. But try to be a little broad-minded and just sometimes give up something, not even to Krishna or the devotees, but just to someone. Just to someone. Yeah. Of course, you've got to be a little careful with that because, for example, if you give money to a drunkard in the street, I'm sure you get a few of them around sometimes, around here, and they come and ask for money, and sometimes you may give them some money, But the problem with that, with someone like that, is that it's almost inevitable they're going to use the money, your money, to buy some liquor and sort of degrade themselves further than they're already degraded. By your mercy, they have become degraded. You understand the idea? And the thing is that you then, because you've sponsored it, you get some of the bad karma, the sinful reactions. Yeah. And, these things are real. And therefore, as a result, in the future, something bad will happen to you. Because, I think you understand the idea. You're sponsoring, helping a person to become more degraded. It's actually not good. So what we do, generally, we keep some prasadam on hand, maybe an apple or just something like that, which has been offered to the Lord, so it has spiritual value. And then some of these people come and say, oh, give us some money. And we say, well, we don't have money, but would you like an apple or something, whatever, samosa or something? And, some of them say, oh, no, I just want money. Then they're up to no good. But if they're actually poor and they're suffering, they'll accept it. And if it is prasad, if it has been offered, it'll be beneficial for them. And the fact that you have given it to them, it's beneficial for you too. Yeah. So charity, that it's explained in the Bhagavatam. If you give money, some charities, just say money. If you give some money to, such a person, like a street person who's regularly intoxicated, and they use it for that, then you get some bad karma. It's bad for you. If you give charity to like a regular, like a bona fide charity, like Save the Children Fund, you may have heard of that, or some sort of humanitarian type of organization, then in the future you will get the same amount back. Maybe later in this lifetime, maybe in the next lifetime. If you give money to a qualified Brahmin, a real, like a spiritualist, yes, a spiritually advanced person, in the future you get 10 times the amount back. And if you give to a pure devotee, like Prabhupada, you get an unlimited amount back. It's the science of charity. And, I don't know if you've had the experience I have. In India, there are these people who know these things. And so they almost try and force certain people to accept some money from them because they know it's an investment and they're going to get more back in the future. Seriously. Oh, yeah. And then there are other people. You try to give them some money, they refuse, completely refuse, and run away. It's the science of charity. It's an interesting subject. So this is what Krishna is saying. First of all, try just to be focused on him. If you can't do that, then in a systematic, regulated way, try and cultivate Krishna consciousness. If you can't do that, do some work. for the Lord. If you can't do that, then don't be too attached. At least give some charity in nice ways. So what about if you can't do that? If you're too stingy, or you just don't have enough money. So then, this is the fifth one. Shreyohi Gyanam Abhyasaj, Gyana Dhyanam Vashishyate, Dhyana Karma Pala Tyagas, Tyagach Chantir Anantaram. And the basic point is, Krishna says, if you cannot do that, you can't even give any charity for whatever reason. If you can't do that, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. It means not just ABC or accountancy, engineering, law, but means spiritual knowledge. And this is why, devotees and friends, this is why Srila Prabhupada placed great emphasis on book distribution. Yeah, great emphasis. Because the people, I mean, people like yourselves, you're different, but, you're just your average person who's just walking in the street. Then not on any of these levels, and they may be incapable of giving charity, or maybe they just feel charity begins at home and they're not going to give anything to anyone else. So Prabhupada not just encouraged, but like he insisted that we must distribute his literatures, because it's in keeping with what Krishna is saying here in Bhagavad Gita. A lot of the people who get the books, they can't understand them much. Some of them just aren't interested, but somehow they end up taking a book. But some people, they read the book, and then it just has a very transformative, beneficial effect on them. Many people, many millions of people actually. So this was Prabhupada's strategy for spreading and involving people, getting people involved in Krishna consciousness. First of all, we were chanting in the streets every day. When I first joined the temple, that's what we did. 9 o'clock, out onto the main street of London. Up and down, up and down, up and down. 1 o'clock, came back for lunch. 2 o'clock, back out on the main street. Up and down and up and down. And that's what we did, at least 6 days a week, for like 6 hours a day. But then that was 73, early 73. And then sort of late 73, maybe in 74, Prabhupada changed the whole approach. That, go out chanting sometimes, it's nice, but focus on the distribution of the literature, because if you can't do any of these higher things, cultivate knowledge, spiritual knowledge, because it is very powerful. That knowledge, it's not just facts and figures. Prabhupada's spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta, who was active in the 1930s, 1920s and 30s, he met an American scholar, and we're talking about in the 1930s, and in those days, you didn't get many Americans who were interested in Indian culture. I mean, they were very rare, actually. But here was one. He was a PhD in Indian culture, Indology. And so he met with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, who explained some things And Bhaktisiddhanta, I don't know if you've read, we distribute one of his books a bit, Brahma Samhita, and he uses high-level English. High level. I mean, I had to use a dictionary while reading that book. So anyway, so he explained some things to this fellow, and it was very sophisticated English and spiritually very complex. And at the end he asked the man, so what do you think? And the man didn't know what to think. But he said, I'll have to think about it. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, you know what he told him? He said, don't think about it with your materialistic mind. Don't think about it, because you'll think all the wrong things about it. But rather hear about it from devotees. Because first of all, you'll get the right information. And secondly, there is a type of Shakti, if you know what I mean, a type of potency in that spiritual knowledge which helps purify your intelligence so you can understand it, whereas previously you wouldn't be able to understand it. But because there's that Shakti, like a Jnana Shakti, you could say, in it, then it gives you the intelligence to understand it. It gives you the intelligence to understand it. So he told him, don't think about it. Hear about it from devotees. So anyway, devotees, Hare Krishna. Some interesting thoughts. These are some of my favorite verses, actually, in Bhagavad Gita. So, anyone could, well, you know what? I was told, in fact, I've been told on a number of occasions that the devotees and people in Bathel are very intelligent and interested in understanding these things. And therefore they have many questions. And anyone have a question or a comment on any of these things? I knew that was going to be the reaction. Anyway, it's okay, no problem. So there you go, Hare Krishna. Should we have 5 minutes more kirtan?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And then there's some prasad, right? Okay. Kirtan Kara. And please join in, everyone. Please join in. You know, he'll sing, mainly it'll be the Hare Krishna mantra. He'll sing like the mantra one time, then we all respond. It's called responsive chanting. The leader sings one time, everyone responds. Then he sings again, everyone responds again. So let's do it. Let's get into it. Okay, so 5-10 minutes, ठीक है? You understand that?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna